Today we're going over a locals video where I went to my locals, obviously, that's the whole point of a locals video, and I got to throw down a little bit with doflamingo. I usually don't play doflamingo, I've not played it in the meta, it's not my go-to deck or anything like that, so for me it was something new that you're probably tired of, but it was a lot of fun. At the end of the day, we played 2 purple Luffys, a black-yellow Luffy, and a Marshall D. Teach. Some fairly even matchups and some a little more difficult. Let's get into the matchups, let's talk about them, and see what we could have done better and become better players, even though doflamingo probably gets banned really soon. Alright, let's get into this first matchup here. We are taking on purple Luffy. They roll a 3, which is really good for us. We'll always take that because we can take the perfect curve. Take first. He said, "You got my deck?" I said, "I don't care. You got it. You got it." I said, "Do I keep this?" We have a Perona, a Buggy, a Boa. I think we keep. We get to bounce on the forward on turn, which I think is really good. We obviously have our stackers. We have the teach effect if our stack is horrible. I think we just have a lot of consistency here. But again, I'm not the high-ranking doflamingo player, and this is my first time playing at locals. So give me a little break whenever I'm a little... Probably the video is not perfect, and I'll probably be in the way a little too much. I also couldn't tell how good the camera was and how everything was going. We look at the top 5 with Perona here. We're on 2x speed, so obviously it's draw, play, draw. We only have the Buggy 2K right now, so I think we wanted to draw into the 2K, then cheat out the Boa, and then go from there. So on this next turn, obviously we can put 2 on our leader and see what we can do. He hits 2 Dawn here, and he says pass. He gives it up to us, so we're on next. We swing 7, get Boa, and we get to stack. Just double check. Always double check, guys. There's so many people who will be like, nah, we already know what it is. Nah, double check. 8 in the life. Hit him. So now we're really pressuring down the purple Luffy here, and I think he's going to develop, if I remember correctly, Bon Clay. Bon Clay is going to be pretty solid, but it's something we can easily bounce here. And it's not as strong to this deck because we only run 5-6k bodies. So it's a 4-drop 5k. He takes a life to ramp 1 just to go ahead and get a little bit more active Dawn. That puts him at 5 into 6 right there. So he's going 7 into Boa. So we'll go ahead and counter out with the 2k we knew we were drawing. And then we have the Boa. And then we have the Law in hand. So we're mathing it out. Obviously get your 2 Dawn and see what we can do. I'm feeling pretty solid so far in the matchup. He hasn't even been able to hit our life, but this is one of those, if they find their Luffy Taros, we lose. And not that we just lose, but it does become a little bit more difficult. I'm here to put on the pressure, so I think it may look like a teach turn here. We know it's at the top actually, so we know there's a Law up there. So we can just swing 7 at face, tap 1, bounce the Perona back, and then bounce the Bon Clay back. You get an extra 1k counter, but oh well. We get to Perona again, dig a little deeper, and then we're like, oh my. So it'll be, you math this out, right? Draw leader effect into Jinbei, so that would be the play. Get the Gecko, get the Weevil from the top as our play. Draw the extra card, which was a 2k counter, I believe. I don't really remember at this point, even though I'm literally watching it live. So he's going 5 into Law. I'm like, nah, no. I just have to decide which card because Josu doesn't do too much in the matchup, but it's a little better in case he gets Sangoro here. It allows us to counterplay, go into a different option. But with them already ramping up into 9, they get to go and heal, ditching the Bon Clay we gave them back earlier and put the Boa in life. And we're at 6 life. 6 life is pretty good here. I'm going to double check and make sure you guys can see everything all right real quick. We're looking good over here. So we get to draw for turn. We knew what it was. We're going to go 6 into face because we have the extra Dawn. Obviously, like I said earlier, Josu isn't really doing much right now, but that's okay. We can now go tap 4 for Boa. So now that puts us on a 6 Dawn turn, which, because we use the 1 for Law, allowing us to restack just to make sure everything's right. 7 into face, cheat out Jinbei, and the pressure is on. Now we get to choose to draw the Draco Mihawk, giving us even more counter in hand. So we're sitting at a solid 6k counter, and we've developed a full board against purple Luffy, putting them down to 1 life. And so they basically need to find a way to either heal or win, and you definitely cannot win in that situation. So they're going to go 9 into Law. Give it up, guys. Don't counter out. Some people might be like, oh, I'm just winning. Why not? I'll take a free block there with the Boa, which this shows you a misplay because you could have developed the Charlotte Linlin first to at least force a card out of our hand. I don't think it does much for you just to go ahead and get rid of the Boa, though. I think that would have been a little better, forcing us down to 3 cards rather than 4. So now we have 2 bodies, and we have 7 life, which 7 life is crazy, guys. Like, I have never had this much life as a doflamingo player. So we're trying to decide if we just want to go aggro into face, depending on what we see at the top. Obviously, you can't really replace this in any way. We can bounce up the Crocodile and then return the Buggy back to our hand if we wanted to. But I'm like, is that what I want to do? He's got 2 life, and I wish we could see how many cards he had in hand. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know we're getting low. He has 1 up for Giant. Of course, Giant's going to be good, but we want to go ahead and flush that out. So we show 8, not really doing too much. We'll go 6. I don't even know where we're going with this, guys. What are we doing? It looks like 4 and 3. So we're going to go 7 with lead. We're going to bounce, return 2 characters to our hand, and then swing the leader just to get the crocodile back. So we get to basically draw 2 and get a body on the board, and it flushes out that Gum Gum Giant that we saw he had. So he drops the Zoro right there from hand, the 3-cost Zoro, I believe, which is an interesting tech choice for the purple Luffy, but it's definitely one I can understand. We're back to a solid 2, 4, 5, 6, 7K counter, so more counter than we started with on the last turn. So that's just a win, just going pluses and up. He does have 10 total Dawn still. No, he's put down to 9 because we did flush out that Gum Gum Giant. So with them going -1 for Big Mom, let's pause and talk about this. So with him going -1 Dawn on 10 Dawn, he goes -1 with Lin. He still has the active Dawn. Using the Gum Gum Giant and flushing that out, he has to go -2 more Dawn, which now puts him at 9. So if he wants to play another Big Mom, he would need a way to ramp up into a Gum Gum Giant, meaning that we should be in a really good spot now that we forced out that Gum Gum Giant. That was what was going through my brain there, is to get the Gum Gum Giant flushed out now and see what we can do. So they go 9 and 9 to our board. I think we counted out of 1, and then we let the other one pass away, go into the afterlife, and see another future. They tap, maybe not. We thought they were about to tap 9, possibly not. It looks like no. We move the camera a little bit because I'm fat and I get in the way. I'm fat, but PHAT and FAT as well. So double blockers, obviously that does not change our hand size, but I was like, dang, that's not what I wanted to see. But with us having 10 Dawn now, I believe, and we're set up in a perfect world, and that's a pretty good little stack there. So we're trying to organize it because it can be draw, play. It just depends on tempo and how we want to go, if we even want to cheat anything out. So I was like, let's just spread some 7s here. Let's literally just go 7s across the board. He doesn't have Gum Gum Giant active, so we can force out and see what they want to do, just doing an original 7 first. They block, and we're like, 7 and a block is interesting in my opinion. So I'm counting my Dawn. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 left after this. We've used 3, so we're only at 9, actually. We're not even at 10 Dawn yet. We have 7 life, full board, and they have 1 life. So I'm like, well, let's go 8, because we're going to leader effect and have another 8 swinging at their face, because the 8 is good because the Useless Captain Kid, if they wanted to save it and try to swing into more of our board, it puts us in a better spot. So I think we have to decide if we want the Sengoku, so now next turn we can... I don't think that was the right stack, just in case somehow we didn't win on this turn, or on the next turn, but I think we should have it. We didn't find a Perfume Themer. I got worried. I was like, guys, do I even have Perfume Themer in this deck? And I did. I'll show you the deck list at the end. I'll throw it up on the sim or something like that. 1 card in hand. They do 9 Luffy us, leaving 1 as active, but still having no life. They do get to draw for the Luffy, which is good, but we let that die, let it pass away and go into the afterlife. And I'm like, well, 2 cards, 3 cards in hand, so mathematically, no matter what, we win the game, I'm pretty sure. Because we'll wait until we do this, but that's GG's. So the reason you mathematically get that is even with Gum Gum Giant and 3 cards, right? The 5 gets 1, so you have 2 cards. So now you have Gum Gum Giant, so that's 4K and 0 cards. You draw 2 cards. You can get at most 4K, so that's 8K, and then 5 plus 8 is 13. So it was guaranteed lethal there. That's why we just went for the game. Not really much else to do. When you have 7 life and they have 0, there's not really a way to prolong the game. But as I said earlier, the biggest thing is they never saw Luffy Taro. We talked about it during this. You don't find Luffy Taro, you are in a tough spot. 100%, it is not easy to get through this game without Luffy Taro. So sadly, I wasn't able to record the second game because it was a younger player and I didn't want to record that. I wasn't comfortable with it. They weren't comfortable with it. It's just better to make sure everyone, while recording at locals, always make sure they're comfortable with it. And when you ask and they say no, you just accept it. So we won the second game. It was Purple Luffy, but now we're on to the third game of the night, a 4-round total night. And we're off. We're gonna do speed 2x. Sound is off, and that's a start. Hold up. Look at this. Gecko, Weevil, Sengoku, Boa. Remember that. We are going to sit here. We are going to mulligan that hand because we only get 1 on play, right? This whole game, we only get 1 on play. So the Sengoku would be good, but after that, I felt kind of cooked. So I'm like, I'm gonna mulligan this hand. I'm talking to my buddy Kay in the background, all that jazz. I cut his deck, I draw for my turn. Let me show you where we draw. This, I've never seen this in my life. Draw, right? We get our life, because we do need some life, I believe. This is a tournament mat, this is not our mat. What is that? How do you do that? What are the odds? I need to go to the casino right now. I've never seen that in my life. Drawing the same hand twice, that is impossible. That is literally clip worthy. I am so happy I caught that on camera. I have never once seen that. I was tweaking, bro. I was sitting there telling him, dude, you have no idea what I just did, and I can't even tell you about it. And this is what we did. I do this in another game after this. Grab Perfume Femur. I only run one of in the deck. I double checked after that first Purple Luffy match how many I actually had. And playing against Marshall D. Teach, now it forces him in the position that he always knows I have a non-counter card in my hand, but he also always knows that he cannot go down to 0 life if he cannot survive. So it puts him in a position where there's very few spots where I feel worried about having the Perfume Femur. If he had 6 cards and he did go down to 0, all right, if you got all 2Ks, you just got it at that point. So I think we're feeling good there, just getting that early to put the pressure on. So we take a dirty raw swing right there for 7K in the lead, and we do hit the boa off the top, which is really good. Tizzy's gonna be joining us for this part. Hi, buddy. Welcome in. We have a pretty solid hand, 2 Sengokus just to get little, or a Sengoku left to get little bodies, and we're not going to get any on play. So we just have a ton of vanillas, and so we're going to drop our non-counter cards first on the board because it just makes more sense to at least have some counter in case. And he goes 9 into boa, and I said, you got it. You got it. We didn't have a 2K, but we don't have to obviously tell him that. We can easily go 6 in a face. We could just go 5 in a face. I take the side of 5 in a face just because I feel like they'll take, knowing that they're at 5 life. And I do want to say one more thing. Don't say anything bad about my opponents. They're all my friends and from locals. These are literally some of the greatest people in the world. Right here, going against Pete. Pete is a monster of black. He is the reason that I complain about Lucci so much is because of him, because he's such a good player. Easily, we have a very competitive scene locally. Just people who can't travel to bigger events and stuff, but if they could, I could easily see Pete taking on the meta and doing very well. So he liberates our Weevil and gets rid of it, and then discards a card because obviously leader effect. So now all we have is a Sengoku. He has 2 active, and I had no idea on that. I was like, why do you have 2 active in Blackbeard? Because earlier in the day, he was like, if you play me, I got secret spice. So I was like, whatever. 7 into life, we reveal a 10-drop Kaido, and I'm like, that's not gonna work. So he plays Shockwave. Shockwave KOs a active 3-cost or lower character. So we could have cashed in on something with the Sengoku, but then we developed no bodies, especially after missing that. So I don't think it was worth it, even if he did have it to go the extra aggro. And then we pass our turn over to our opponent. He gets a This Is My Age trigger, discarding 2 cards from the top of his deck, and then, or searching 3 cards, and then grabbing 1, and then discarding the other 2, if any of that makes any sense. He gets a burger, gets the burger on the board. Burger's going to be very difficult to deal with later for us, because I don't run Gravity Blade. I run Red Rock in this build, and I definitely should be running Gravity Blade. I just had an outdated build that I wanted to try out, so I said swing character first, just in case he has some kind of trigger off the top that we don't want to deal with. And then we're sitting at a solid 9 Dawn. So we'll go ahead and get Marshall D. Teach. That's going to put our leader effect active for us, which is going to be really important for this matchup because the leader effect is something we don't get to set up. Ow, buddy, stop. He's scratching me. He's attacking me just for me petting him. All right, so we played out the Jinbei. We then cheat out the Gecko Moria just to build a wide ward against our opponent. So now we actually have 4 bodies that are able to swing, and he's getting put in a difficult position because for 1, our opponent hasn't found Hachinosu, and for 2, they just found their Lafittes for the first time, so it becomes very difficult. They're sitting on an 8 Dawn turn right here, so they do 4 Dawn just to do their double searchers, not able to remove any of our bodies, and then we still have a solid 5 cards in hand. They only know 2 of them technically. They should know the Kaido and the Perfume Femur. None of our other cards, they do know what they are, but they do know we have 2 non-counter characters in our hand. We keep moving here. They do have 4 Dawn. They can kind of swing aggressively to kind of bodies, or they can just down something. They go 7. Actually, no, they go 8 into our 6. We let that go because I'm not going to swing out aggressively, or I'm not going to counter out aggressively here, especially into this matchup. I think it's better to keep the resources while we also already have the character. I get the Red Rock for the 10 drop, and we kind of do here. So with them being only at 2 life, I think we put on the aggression, put some pedal to the metal, and say, can you counter 7? and he could counter 7, of course, because that's what you do. Makes his burgers a little bit stronger, and I'm like, let me read this. Okay, can't KO'd, that's cool with me. We can swing aggressively here into our opponent still, and go another 7 into face, see if they can counter. They cannot counter, so they only have 2 cards in hand, I believe, at this point, 2 or 3, and so I'm like, you've got to teach, right? Like, there's a reason you wouldn't have a teach, so I go 7 just to see if I could win the game right there, because technically, I could have gone 7 again if they didn't have it, and then get rid of all their cards in hand. With 3 life and I think 4k counter in hand, we would have been in a very safe position, so I'm like, okay, I'll just go 5, and then I'll play out a 1-cost character just to have a body on the board and say pass, you know. Well, is there any way I can win this turn with you having 3 life and 4 bodies on the board? So he would have to win this turn. His Burgesses are 8k characters, and I think we basically have it at that point. No matter what you have, he has 1 card in hand, which he just top decked. Or no, he has 2 cards in hand, and he's just like, yeah, you get it. He's mentioning, you know, good player that he is. One thing that he always does is he always gives me advice on how to play the game better, and he always shows me what he could be doing better, and he's really good at it. And I mean, he's really an inspiring player. So thank you, Pete, for the game. Let's go into the next match. That was round 3 of the tournament. We're on to round 4, boys. We are 3-0 at the moment. Let's see if we can close this out. All right, as you can see, we're going against BY Luffy. This is a newer BY Luffy player, K. He plays like Jewelry Body and other decks like that. He has actually really surprised me with this build. You'll see in a little bit some of the tech options that I've seen him play, and I really enjoy this. We'll see what he can do in this matchup. I mean, advantageous for our opponent. I think our opponent definitely has, you know, or the advantage in the actual matchup itself. We get to play down our Perona, looking at the top 5 and deciding how we want to stack it. We're going to speed this 2x to speed up the process, because this is 18 minutes and this is only half the game. So my camera does cut into 2 18-minute halves. So we're trying to decide how to play this, what we want to draw into and what we want to play. So with this matchup, I'm thinking it's difficult. It is difficult. Buddy, my cat would not leave me alone right now. So we do have the teach. We could get down the teach early, but I don't know if that's what we want to do. He had to step away to go get water, so we're going to skip through, but I told him, hey, you know, cheat, obviously you could see it in the video. So all he does for his turn is, this is my age, or 3 brothers bond, Luffy, which is really good in this matchup, and then plays down a Flampe. Flampe obviously taking a life and drawing a card, so he now has, like, what, in hand at this point, and that's exactly what you want. We're looking for a pudding at some point, but obviously we have not found one, so we're just going to go 7 into face and go really aggressive. I think that's the best option for me personally, but I don't really know. I don't think you can really take away from what you try to do in this matchup. You know, maybe going second would have been better, going into a more Jinbei play and playing a little more passive, but I also think, you know, having the Kuzans on board and such. Now let me say this, later in the game I realized I think having that Marshall D teach down so much earlier would be so good, because I didn't have the ability to do other things while, you know, having the Perona. So this turn I should have established the teach and really maybe either swing aggressively, because that would put him at 6 Dawn, and then still he would have to awaken this turn, which would really put him on a clock, because there's not a good way he can do that. So we do the Sengoku search, we grab, you'll find out. You'll find out in just a second. Maybe we'll find out in just a second. Yep, that card. Perfume Femur. Putting our opponent, especially with the Black Yellow Luffy, at the point where you can never go down to 0 life. So we'll swing 6 to draw 2, trash 2. I wanted to do this to kind of a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know what to discard here, because Jozu I don't think does too much until later in the game. So I don't want to get rid of the Kaido just in case. Having that big body really saves us later on, and we'll definitely have to just see what it can do. This match is so long, it does go into time in a little bit, so you will see that, and how close this game really was, because we do go down to time 100%, and now we know. So now we know they have the 5-cost Luffy in hand. They have the Zakuzan on board, so they can easily clear stuff. They take the life. They Raigo our Gecko. Amazing trigger off the top for them. Really good stuff right there. I mean, it happens when you play against yellow. At least this isn't a Nell, because if this was a Nell, I'd be like, all right, screw you, I quit. But it's not. So we almost had to go against a Nell, but luckily K pulled it through. So sorry, Roper, we did not go against you and your Nell deck. I'm very happy about that, because that's so good for us. So it's a very interesting matchup, to say the least. So they go 5 here. I'm like, no, you have the Luffy, so either Usabo or Luffy, and I don't know which one's worse for me right now. If you Luffy, you get to, you know, and then get rid of the Draco Mihawk for free and draw a card and do all that, and I'm like, okay, another cost Luffy right there. Pretty good stuff, pretty good stuff. he's at the position where now at least he has a blocker, a life he can take and awaken himself and allow it to happen. We can go for more bouncing stuff. We can kind of choose what we want to do. So 5 into us, we're down to 3 life. Our opponent's at 1, and obviously they want to be at 1. So we're going to be hitting a solid 7 Dawn here and deciding what we want to do. So either we can bounce the Sabo or we can bounce the Kuzan, but I can't bounce both. And this is the situation where, let me tell you, if we had Martial D Teach on the board right now, this turn would pop off because we could Jozu down the Sabo, bounce our Sengoku or Perona back to hand, and bounce the Sabo, right? Now we use the 2 from Teach, put the Jinbei on top of our deck, cheat out Jinbei to cheat out Law. Law bounces the Perona, and then we bounce the Kuzan. They have no board. We didn't even have to swing them or do anything. Like, it put us in a very advantageous position, in my opinion, and I'm kind of upset we didn't have it. So that's where I learned, hey, I should have had the Martial D Teach down earlier. That's really important for kind of situations like this, and I didn't see this coming. So for the future, I definitely know. So we will bounce this and then bounce the Sabo back to hand, just because now it's more like discard fodder at this point. And we'll go 5 into Kuzan, just taking a card out of hand because I don't think he's going to let that go. But that was our best bet because I do think we wanted to stack. But at the end of the day, we still know he has the 5 cost Luffy, so he can easily Kuzan down our Jozu and then hit our board. And we look at the top, and holy cow, the holy grail of One Piece magic. So Jinbei will be a great top deck, so we can grab the Law in hand and then play the Jinbei and then go from there. So we say pass, your go, do your thing. And he's like, all right, let me split this up for you. Let me show you how it's done. So we have to kind of get out of a few of these swings because we're already down to 3 life, and 3 life is very scary against Black Yellow Luffy because you never know what they're going to pull out. They could literally do anything. So we go into this, they go 5 into us, which we will have to counter out of. We know we have 2 laws on the way, and we have 2 in hand. So we're in a safe spot to just counter out with the Law. They play on Hiyori to replace the life to make sure they don't have to worry about Perfume Femur. And then they become a 7k leader, and they are awakening in a very good way. So 7k leader is kind of crazy. You can see I'm a little shaky here. I get under a lot of pressure and anxiety, and I'm like, how am I feeling? And so I shake a little bit. I shake my legs and stuff like that. You can see I'm kind of twitching here alone. So I show him the red rock. I'm like, hey, come in handy later. So we'll have to see. I mean, obviously he does very well in this matchup. So our opponent decides, hey, I'm going to awaken, get the Sabo, draw 2, trash 2, drop Kuzan and a Raigo, which are 2 very good cards to drop in this matchup because you won't be using them. Swing 11 at my opponent, which is me, of course. And then we're like, all right, what can we do now? So we really need to develop very badly because we are in a tough spot. So we're like 3 and then 6, so we have 9 total Dawn to kind of get down and see what we wanted to do. So I think we'll Jinbei into Law. Law will bounce. I don't even know what we do here, honestly. I don't even remember at this point. We know we have the Jinbei on the top of the deck. We just drew into the Law, so we could go 9, because he is a 9k leader, and just burn a card out of hand, which I think is possibly a very good option, which may look weird, but I think it is the best option, because we can bounce the Kuzan back to hand. Now it's just discard fodder, so it kind of makes cost Luffy's. I mean, change him. If we Jozu later, it changes that, but I mean, at the end of the game, it doesn't do too much for what he's trying to do, and we're like, cool. So now we have 4 Dawn, we can tap into another Jinbei Law and then bounce our own Sengoku. And then we could bounce our rested Jinbei, but I think it's better as a pseudo blocker for our opponent to kind of swing in. I do think is the best option. I think having Martial D Teach on the board at this point isn't as valuable as you may think because it's a little too late game for that where we start losing a lot of cards in hand, especially when we don't even have any 2Ks at the moment that I see. Yeah, no 2. We only have 4K counter, so it's like, what can you do? And so our opponent's leader is 9k. They have the Rocket Luffy at the top, which Rocket Luffy is obviously very, very good in this matchup. They're sitting at 10 Dawn, and we're just kind of going. So they have 50 cards in hand per usual Black Yellow Luffy, and that's just the game we play, I guess. We'll have to see what they do here. I mean, we're 7 in hand, so it kind of shows pressure. I need to work on my shaking when I play, you know, twitch leg and stuff, but I bring my water bottle, and for me personally, as a man with anxiety, water is very good to me. Like, I have it 24/7. If you don't see me with a water bottle, I'm probably tweaking. So getting the draw 1 on the Kuzan from earlier is probably pretty good here if you don't have a Gecko Morio that you're still looking for. So it kind of tells us in this situation, hey, bro does not have Gecko Morio. Really good thing to have in your brain, in your mind, you know, thinking of term how long this game is about to go. So now we're deciding what we want to do. I'm twitching per usual, and let's see what we do here. Okay, needed them, so we said, hey, take your time, and let's skip through. All right. Looks like we're getting some action. Plays down a Flambe, takes the last life to the bottom. I was like, all right, interesting. I guess that's your way to awaken here because you're in a sticky spot. So I guess you want another Sabo, it looks like. So we'll see what he can do here. It's a very interesting idea, but when you're put in this position with no geckos, you do have to make some rogue plays a little bit to awaken, because it shows you, you know, also have a baby Luffy. So the reason he had to do the flampe is just because he didn't have a baby Luffy, which burns more cards out of his hand, allows him to filter. He drops a Sabo in a 1-cost event, I believe. No, it was a Viola. And now we're on to the next video. All right, and then he goes, he's trying to decide 9 into Jinbei, so that shows me right there, him being a 7k leader, and he only has 3 cards in hand, I believe. So 2 blockers on the board, 1 life, and a 7k leader, and here's where we really talk about it. He did drop a Viola, and I was like, Viola's interesting. Viola's really interesting in this deck list, and I kind of like it. It's really good in the doflamingo matchup because it's something that I've learned from other people. It looks like a block here on a 7k swing. I'm like, interesting. You don't have that much life, but, or I mean that much counter, or you just want to go ahead and guarantee that your Sabo's getting the life, or play around a Gravity Blade, because I could just Gravity Blade them, get rid of both of them. Granted, he has 1 more in trash. I think he saw all 4 this game, so we're just going to keep spreading the board and go 7 again. But what I was trying to say there is you can technically Gecko Moria into Viola, allowing you to flip your 2 life down with 2 Rocket Boots Luffys and then KOing the board, which is kind of cool and something we may see in a little bit. But I'm just saying we might. I can't guarantee it, but he's checking his trash, seeing what he wants to do, if he wants to counter block. So he gives me a 2k, so it shows me, hey, I'm not winning this turn, that's for sure, but he doesn't want to go down to 0. We'll tap 1 for Perona and stack the top, just looking for better options here. And we don't really find too much, but we can go straight into Law just to bounce our own Perona, but it looks like possibly no. I think we want to draw into Jozu maybe, or maybe some counter finally, because we haven't had any counter. So it looks like we're going Law, draw, Jinbei for leader, and then bounce a Perona, bounce a Kuzan back to hand, give him a no-K counter card that he would have to develop again, basically just giving him discard fodder for his leader effect. 3 cards in hand, and we are kind of set. At the bottom of the life, no cards on board anymore, so we're cleared up. We still have 3 life. We're in a very good spot, in my opinion. And then I think we have time called pretty soon. What time is it? 3 minutes in, the other one was 18. No, we still have 10 minutes left. He finally top decks a Gecko Moria, obviously cheating out all the stuff, you know, putting the Luffy before you gain any life. Of course, that's what any good player does. And we're looking at this hand, we're like, wow, we have not found any good bodies at the moment. So he gets the Sabo, draw 2, trash 2, and he trashes another Viola and Rockets Luffy, and then he's like, well, maybe not. And so this is where the misplay comes down, and the reason the game ends how it, like, it doesn't end the game how it is, but I do think this is a misplay that we talked about later on. Not that it changes the ending of the game or anything, but, you know, you'll see in a minute. He's trying to decide what to ditch. I didn't even realize it was Viola and Luffy. I didn't even know what it was, but he's like, if you spread across the board here, do I just lose? And that's something you have to think about, and actually he wouldn't, because, you know, you 7, 7, 7. I mean, you K swing, I might be able to get out of, but if I don't, you know, only K swing. No, 10, it is 11, okay. So 11 swing. Instead, he decides to go with Gecko Moria in trash, which is the position that he feels like he's put in, is that he has to get rid of Gecko Moria. And so we can start to kind of burn resources. We take 11, he does 11 at face. He's a 9k leader. And so the issue with what I believe K just did is that he swung, he didn't worry, or didn't worry about the Gecko Moria, or he shouldn't have worried about the Gecko Moria, because here I have to go to 9. You have 1 card in hand, right, which we know is a 1k counter. You have to discard the Kuzan for leader ability. So we cycle into this point where it's 9. So all of my characters are 5ks. I only have 2 swings for 10 or a 9 and a 10. So with that being said, you block out a 1, take 1, you Gecko Moria on the next turn. You don't have to worry about that card in hand, because now you get to draw 1 with the Luffy and then draw 2, trash 2 to filter more with the Sabo, and then continue your game plan in a very active place. But you also you lose the life here, so you can lose it at the bottom of the deck. He has more in trash, to be fair. And then we're not playing so much of the top deck game, though, if he goes for Sabo, then to be a 7k leader. So we kind of talked he would have to be able to clear the board guaranteed in this situation. And so, I mean, either way, it's not like he would have to win on that next turn. And with us in this position, we would have won on the turn after, if not, especially knowing that we do have the red rock. So we're trying to decide how we want to do this. I'm like, I'm going to get you, see what you do. If you give me the blocker, that's cool, because now I red rock the Gecko, and I'm like, you don't have Luffy's in trash. You'd have to get a Gecko. So you could top deck a Luffy here, but I mean, I think puts us in a very good spot. He needs a way to burn this life, is what I think is where we're at with this situation. So he top decks 2, so he's got 2 cards in hand. We know one of them, but we don't actually know one of them. Honestly, I didn't even realize what it was in the beginning. He showed me the 2 cards, then ditched them real quick, and I didn't notice. So I'm like, what you got? So how do you do it in this position? You know, trash the life, draw the card. Cool, it is what it is. You get another card in hand, another resource to kind of decide what to do, and that makes sense to me. So you put 2 on leader. I'm like, interesting. We had 9, obviously, with the character. We could have done 9 with the leader, but I wanted to leave the leader ability open in case we needed it, but I think that was the wrong play. Now, granted, we don't really need more bodies on the board, but I think it would have been smart to do it the other way, just so he could not swing into this character, because that would be bad. You know, I've seen 8 and possibly 11 if he does get the full awakening. Going 8 into the Trafalgar Law, nope, never mind, not 8 into the Trafalgar Law. And I have to decide, okay, if he goes and splits with more Dawn, like, how does that mean? I can see, obviously, how his Dawn split, but you can't always go off of that, sadly. So I'm trying to decide, you know, 8 into it. I think we just let it go, and then we take the hit into life, because I'm mathing it out, because I saw the Viola from earlier, right? So we see the Viola in trash from earlier. So my thought is if he got a Viola off the top, that's the 2 Dawn. So then he'd be going the rest on here, or developing a character like a Sabo in hand, draw 2 trash, 2 Viola, double blockers, 2 life, flip down that do KO our body. So I think, okay, I can count out of this, but can I save the second swing? No. And even if I could, I mean, that would be a 5k leader, but we'd have to go 7. He has 2 cards in hand that gets through 1 blocker. The possibility that he has another one, 7, you know, pops this one. So then he would have the blocker. So this swings, and then leader swings. These two get, the 2 cards on the left do get popped from the Luffy effects, so we would not have lethal because he'd have the Viola blocker. So no matter what, I should not counter out of this position due to that fact. So again, just bear with me because I am newer to Doflamingo. This is not my usual deck list or my usual deck. This is my deck list, but it's not my usual play style, and we're kind of getting cooked on the draw power in my opinion. He decided to go 7 here, and I'm like, interesting. So we probably could have, but we're going to counter out because going down even more would be kind of bad. And I'm like, double 7 is crazy here. Red Rock trigger? I don't think it's worth it. Not on a flampe. If he would have played the Viola first, of course, yes, I would have done it. But this puts us in a spot where it's like, man, oh man, what do we do here? So this is what takes forever right here, guys. I take way too long to decide. And I'm like, well, I need to kill the Garp. If we look through the position, I'm just going to speed it up a little bit so we can get up here. So we played on Sengoku first to search the top 5 to grab hopefully a blocker or something to save us in a pinch, because I look at the board and I'm like, okay, I die if I not win. And so I'm like, I could 10 Kaido and draw 4 cards and hopefully not die, but that doesn't change the fact of what's in his life. So we're just going to go 5 here to the Garp to cash out on our abilities, because obviously the other characters are going to get popped anyway, so at least we get 1 extra swing knowing that they're going to get popped. So that's the safest option in that situation. And then we can, you know, kind of decide there. I don't want to give him something like the Jozu. I mean, I could have, how I'm looking at it, I could have Jozu the Viola back to hand. He wouldn't have a way to awaken. Yeah, I could have straight just Josu'd the Viola back to hand and then made sure he didn't have a way to awaken, but then he has the Luffy, so he would have had to have gotten rid of Luffy. I'm really, even to the point I'm struggling. So he did just win, guys. You see the packs hit the table. He won in time because I have 1 life, he has 2 life. I didn't even think about that. So we shouldn't have let that 7 with the Garp hit. We could have countered out and then been even and then gone to deck, cards in deck, and I would have won the game. With that being said, we still play it out and finish off the game. I tried to take a raw leader swing. Obviously don't get it. We go 7 and he blocks. We bounce that and bounce the Luffy back to hand. And this puts us in a position where if he does obviously go with the flampe and Luffy, I'm like, I don't die. I am still safe. So we play this one out. Technically, I did lose this 1 round, but we play it out anyways to see how we get it. And I think it was a really good one to play out, actually. So they flampe's to take the last life to draw an extra card to filter through, and I'm getting worried. Plays Rocket Luffy to pop Law to draw a card, you know, it is what, and then goes 2 on the leader. I'm like, no way, you Viola, that would be crazy. And then he puts the rest of the Dawn on the leader. I'm like, interesting. And now, like, isn't this just math? If I can get out of this swing, it's just math, because he's a 9k leader, because he put all of his Dawn on his leader. So I don't know if that was the best situation, but at the end of the day, he has, I think, 1 or 2 cards in hand. We're getting close to math, right? So, I mean, we let it, which is interesting, and he only has 2 1Ks on the board. So I think, okay, we go 5 at force a card out of hand, because we could have a rush option or something. Obviously we don't. Would be kind of cool if we did. We go 7 at life, forcing him to counter, and then Kaido. Finally dropping the Kaido. We only get 2k counter from the Kaido, which is wild because we did get a double Weevil. But we now have 12 cards in hand, I think, at this point, and that puts us in the winning seat. I don't think there's much else you can do at this point because you're with 1 life. You don't have a way to get rid of that life. You're kind of cooked. Even if you can Gecko Moria, become a 9k leader, I think it's just math at that point because there's not really a way to clear out anything else. He wanted to just dig for another draw option just in case. So he's looking for a blocker, some kind of chump blocker. Maybe he plays the Nami blocker or another Viola, something like that to kind of continue the game. Would be obviously resources in hand, counter, whatever you need in the situation. So that's a good play right there just to continue to go through the deck. And then this one is about to end with this video and we'll be on to the final one. Alright, speed on 2, and we're going to play through the games, guys. I don't usually do this local content, so you gotta let me know how you want it, if you like this, if you think it should be like members only, like is it something you care about, like whatever you want. So he had to drop the Shirahoshi to gain the 2 life, and then he only has 1 card in hand. He swings 10 at Jozu, and I'm like, if I counter out of this, he swings 10 at life, just in case, I guess. I mean, just a little 7's guaranteed, 12's guaranteed, 15's guaranteed, and we win the game. So he did not find that many Gecko Morias, which is what's really good for us. But at the end of the day, that was a really well-fought fight because we did have, a ton of counter. We kept the resources up, and I think we did everything right. Again, I don't like the doflamingo guru or anything. Don't take it. Obviously, I went today. I still got 3rd in the tournament because the people you play against, change your ranking. Even though I was at the top table at the end of the day, it is what it is. I don't get a winner pack because I didn't technically get top 2, but it's fine with me. I did technically win, but that's okay. That's not on K or anything like that. That's just Bandai itself. So obviously there's nothing you can do there. It was a lot of fun and I really did enjoy the tournament. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good. Wait, you need a deck list. You need a deck list. Okay guys, now to finish off, here's your full deck list. I mean, it's just I'm not going to go deep in detail about this. Like, there's not much different than these 2 red rocks. Some people instead play Gravity Blade. Obviously, I think I should be playing Gravity Blade in the future because that would have really helped, I think, with that blue or black-yellow Luffy matchup being a little quicker. The Kaido, I think, is really good just for, like, the Bonnie matchup and Nell, stuff like that. So, only reason I played as a 1-of, and I did get to pull it off twice last night. Again, once against the purple Luffy I couldn't video, and then once against the black-yellow Luffy. So, anyways, that's the usual blue doflamingo deck profile. Now, as I was saying, like, subscribe, join the Discord below, and I'll see you in the next one. I love you and your mama. Peace. Goodbye.